Hi, this is Len, episode 577 for the Kindle Chronicles. Today is August 23rd, 2019, and I'm at Ocean Park looking out the window toward the ocean. There's a parasailer out there tonight, and that's quite a ride. My niece took one this week, and I haven't had a chance to hear what it was like to be up there being pulled behind a boat over the Atlantic. I've got a two-part show for you this week, and the first part is going to be a demo and sort of walking you through the installation of Echo Auto. And this is the new expansion of Alexa into the car, which is available by invitation only. I had requested an invitation, seems like a year ago. It's been a long time since this was first introduced and it's being rolled out. Listener Karen Hovarth sent me the one that she purchase. She got one of the invitations and it arrived today. So I spent a good deal of time in the car getting it set up. It was a little tricky to set up, and I'll give you a little feeling for how that went, and then my thoughts about what does this mean to have Alexa in the car. The second part of the show is going to be an interview with my sister, Stephanie Edgerly. You may remember that I helped her to turn a book that she has been working on for 25 years called Heavenly Body into a Kindle book and also a paper book. And I had a chance to visit with her this week down at her cottage in Ocean Park about the process of how she came to write that book, and then how the Kindle Direct Publishing process that I helped walk her through culminated a pretty intense period of creativity in her life. So I hope you'll enjoy that interview as well. My goal is to get us up onto the internet pretty quickly because Darlene's college friend Deuce is visiting from Rhode Island, and we're headed to the garage, which used to be a garage, but now it's turned into a barbecue joint down in Old Orchard Beach, and we're going to be heading there in a little bit. So we'll start out talking about Echo Auto, and then we'll finish up with my conversation with a noted author in the family, Stephanie Edgerly. The Echo Auto is about the size of a credit card. If you can think of a stack of about 10 or 12 credit cards on top of each other, that's roughly the size of it. And it's a very elegant black device, 2 buttons on it. So as soon as I got it out of the box that Karen had sent me, I headed out to the Tesla, pretty eager to set it up and see how it would work and what kinds of use cases might become useful in a car. It didn't surprise me that the installation of it was challenging, more challenging even than I thought. I ended up going through about 3 Amazon Echo techs, and I got interrupted by lunch, and then Stephanie had a fall at her house that she's okay, but I had to rush down through the woods to see how she was doing, and had some interruptions before I actually got the Echo car operating. Echo Auto, it's called. So called the regular number from my Amazon Alexa app on my phone, and pretty quickly, as soon as I got the opening person, she said that I was going to be sent to a special group. Here's some excerpts of the audio that I recorded as we worked our way through creation of a link between the Tesla and Echo Auto.
All right, Len, we actually have a specialty department just for these Echo Auto devices. So let me get you over to that department and they can help you get this set up, okay?
Thank you. The setup instructions for Echo Auto are real simple, but having it work with the Bluetooth in the car turned out to be the problem, and someone from Amazon showed up to help.
Hi, my name is Jesse. I'm part of the Echo Auto team. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Alrighty. Well, I was talking with the other representative, and they were telling me that you need some assistance setting up the Echo Auto.
Yes.
Okay. We can definitely go ahead and go through that here. Just give me one moment. I need to bring up your account. Now, I do have some questions. Now, are you going to be setting this up in Bluetooth, or is this going to be through auxiliary cable?
Bluetooth. Now, the reason I was using Bluetooth is that the Tesla has all kinds of fancy technology, all-electric car, but it does not have an audio port, a little round hole that you can plug something in from another device to like play a phone or things like that. If you're going to use your music for podcasts or music, you have to use Bluetooth to get it to play through the car speakers. This is kind of unusual. I think if you've got a car that's a more normal car, especially a late model car, you're liable to have some kind of a little round hole that you could plug in. And the Echo Auto comes with a cable that has one of those posts at either end. So you plug one into the Echo Auto, and then you plug the other into your car, and at that point everything is real simple, and you just have to get it to pair, and you go through the device, the Alexa device on your phone, and everything will be fine. The hour or more that I spent on the phone was because my car did not have one of those audio ports, and so I was navigating the trickiness of the Bluetooth connection. When Jesse found out that that's what was involved, he asked if I would test the audio in the car to make sure I was able to play music and podcasts. So I did that, and then he called back in about 30 seconds after I'd done that test.
Hi, this is Len.
Hi, this is Jesse.
Yes, hi, Jesse. So while we were off the phone, I tried to play a podcast from my phone through the audio of the car. It's a Tesla, and it wouldn't play. I have the Echo Auto plugged in to the USB port, and so is that what we were testing, is if I would be able to hear audio through the car speakers when the Echo was plugged in?
Yeah, so
once we did a little troubleshooting, I unplugged the Echo Auto, and then I was able to play the podcast. So that gave him some information and led to the next step, which was to reset the Echo Auto.
All right, and what I want to do next is we're going to go ahead and reset the Echo Auto. So I want you to press the microphone mute button on top, which is a little circle with a slash going through it.
Yeah.
And then once you press it, you should see the light.
Now in setup mode. When you can safely do so, go to your Alexa app and add a new device.
Okay.
As we were working through this setup, the first time I heard Alexa's voice in the car, it was a little eerie because I'm used to hearing her on the Echo Show or the different devices we got around the house, and then here she was speaking through the little teeny Echo Auto device itself. That was kind of striking. And then when it eventually did come through the car speakers, that was even more so. It was like, wow, Alexa is really in the car. I recorded this whole process. As I say, I think I dealt with 3 tech people over a period of about an hour. I had to interrupt them because of things that were going on. I called back, and with a minute, someone is calling up all of the information, knows exactly what I need done. Another one of these experiences of the excellence of Amazon's technical support. This is a tricky bit. I mean, this is a sophisticated bit of AI equipment that I'm trying to get to connect with my car. And to know that I can do it in the midst of a day when other things are happening, we've got a guest in the house, my sister has an accident, and that is whenever I can return to the project of getting this thing to work in time to talk to you about it, I never waited more than a minute. I probably waited 30 seconds to get someone, and when I got that first person, the second and third time, I said, I was just talking with an Echo Auto expert, and I need to go back. And they say, no problem, just put me right back. And I had 3 different techs from that area. They were all completely knowledgeable and completely helpful. And it's at this point, this kind of experience getting help from Amazon to set up a device isn't really a surprise, but when you're actually talking with real people on a real day when stuff is going on, it left me feeling very grateful. If I had had some other vendor that I was working with, even Apple, which does a pretty good job, I just know that it wouldn't have been as satisfying and painless an experience, even though it did end up being kind of complex. So once everything was done, and the last bit of wizardry with the help of the tech resulted in the Echo Auto being hooked up to the car, and Alexa was able to answer questions. I decided I'd go for a ride, take Alexa for a ride, and then I recorded this session, which will actually be kind of a first demo of Echo Auto and the questions it raises. Well, after almost an hour of different people at the Echo team helping me, we did manage to connect the Echo Auto to the Bluetooth system and the car. And so now I have this little credit card size. It's like a fat credit card, maybe 10 credit cards all bundled together sitting on the console. And I don't have a regular vent connector so that it would have sort of a place to use a vent holder. But the Echo Auto itself has kind of rubberized feet, so it feels like it will be fairly sturdy sitting on this kind of clear console. And I'll show you what it sounds like. Alexa, what's the weather?
Currently, in Saco it's 78 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly cloudy skies. Today, you can expect intermittent clouds with a high of 79 degrees and a low of 54 degrees.
That's pretty cool. It's like Alexa showing up in a new place, and I've got she heard her name, and it's not.
The Places I Go by Zainab Hosbinlan, starting now on
Alexa,
Amazon
stop.
Music.
I'm going to have to be careful not to invoke her name when I'm in the car now that I have an Echo Auto set up. And let's just go for a little drive, because one thing that now is of interest to me is, what would I use this for? I'm driving along. I've got on board through this very sleekly designed device, which just sits here waiting for my question. And I suppose if I'm having a conversation with Darlene and I need an answer about something, I could find out something that would be of interest. Alexa, how old is Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos is 55 years old. He was born on January 12, 1964.
You know, I think that she responds a little more slowly via the Echo Auto than she does with the Echo Show or any of the other Echo devices in the home. So a little bit of a delay, but, you know, a manageable one. I figure there are some complexities. Let's see. Alexa, is the Ocean Park soda fountain open now?
Sorry, I can't get your exact location right now. When it's safe to do so, check the location setting on your iPhone and change it to always allow.
Aha. Well, let's do that right now. I'm going to pull over. I'm on a very slow street without much traffic here in Ocean Park. So I will go into settings and I'll look for, I'm sure it must be the Alexa app that needs to have the location. Location while using, I'll say always. See if that makes a difference. Okay. Alexa, is the Ocean Park soda fountain open now?
The Ocean Park on Seaview Avenue in Oak Bluffs is open until later today at 5:30 p.m.
Oak Bluffs. I don't think she really knows where I am now. I'm in Ocean Park, which is part of Old Orchard Beach. That certainly would be helpful if, as you're driving along, she knows where you are. Let's give her another chance. Alexa, is Joseph's Restaurant open now?
The Joseph's by the Sea on West Grand Avenue in Old Orchard Beach is open today from 7 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and today from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, now she knows that's a favorite place we like to have eat out at Joseph's here in Old Orchard. So I'm maybe a mile away from Joseph's on Grand Avenue. That would be pretty handy if you're driving along somewhere. And let's try this. Alexa, where's the nearest coffee shop?
Here are a few nearby coffee shops. 1. Cafe 64, 1.1 miles away on Saco Avenue. 2. Beach Street Cafe, 0.7 miles away on West Grand Avenue. And 3. Dunkin' Donuts, 1.1 miles away on Old Orchard Street. You can ask me for things like, take me to the first one.
Take me to the first one. Alexa, take me to the first one.
You'll need to tap the notification on your iPhone to start directions when it's safe to do so. If you don't see a notification, you can turn these on in your iPhone settings.
All right, so there's I know I'm not supposed to be looking at my iPhone here, but there was a notification that came from the Alexa app and open for directions. I don't know, that doesn't seem... So now I'm looking at directions, but I would have to be reading from the iPhone. I'm not getting audio directions, which might have been a little bit more useful. Well, I won't say that the setup was very easy with the Tesla because I don't have the audio cable. If I'd had that audio cable, I'm sure it would have been very simple to get it set up, but because I'm relying on Bluetooth, it got a little complicated. But now that it's set up, I think it's going to be kind of cool. Now, it's clear if I didn't want her listening, I would just press the button that marks the microphone going off, and then it turns red. And also the bar across the front of the Echo Auto turns red. And if I undo it, then it's ready to go. Alexa, what's the next event on my calendar?
Your next event is forecast for 80,202, 91 degrees, 64 degrees. Tomorrow, which lasts all
Alexa,
day.
stop. For some reason, my Google Calendar has got a setting for the weather in Denver, which I don't know how to remove, and it keeps showing up on events of this. Well, I suppose the bad news is this is another distraction for driving. I've got this great big huge screen on the Tesla that has all kinds of information. I can play podcasts. I can do lots of other things. I don't think I can have it, and then it starts getting a little confusing because here in the car now I can press the button on the steering wheel, which activates the Tesla's AI, voice activated, navigate to Ocean Park soda fountain, and then it pulls up the directions. So that's one robot I can talk to in the car. Then I can talk to my watch and summon Siri and say, hey Siri, remind me to finish the podcast and quit playing with Echo Auto. And Siri will be, taking a little note, putting it into reminders. And
Here's your reminder.
And now I've got A aboard, and I could be asking her for information about whether the Ocean Park soda fountain is open, or how old Jeff Bezos is, or what my next event is on my calendar. And I'm sure that's an issue. I mean, how much AI is really safe to have in your car at the same time? And if you're going to have an Echo Auto in your car, you probably already have some of the other. You might have CarPlay running off of your iPhone or the Android version of that, and the car itself might have some kind of a nav system. So in addition to whoever might be sitting in the passenger seat, you now have 3 robots that you can be talking to as you're driving along at 70 miles an hour. Now, in the Tesla, usually when I'm at 70 miles an hour, the car is driving itself, but it's still kind of important to monitor it. Fun. Thank you very much, Karen, for sending this to me. I clearly have no inside track getting invitation-only devices from Amazon. Garrett Riley sent me the Echo Look, I think it was, the one that showed you how to dress properly, and now Karen sent me the Echo Auto well before I would have gotten it on my own. And I suspect it's going to take a while before it's released to general purchase, just because my experience here with a Tesla, and I'm sure there are other cars that stress the system and really help them discover problems with the Bluetooth connectivity, etc. So they'll be trying to make this as foolproof as possible before they put it up so that anybody can buy it. It's very well designed. I think that the device itself makes a lot of sense. It doesn't seem to be a big clunky thing to add to the car. The reason they spent so long putting this out was it's hard to get a device that can hear the wake word amidst all the other sounds of a car. You know, the road noise, the car itself. There's no engine noise here in the Tesla, but I think that just in my testing of it here, it clearly does hear the wake word easily, and so that part seems to be really well designed. First look at the Echo Auto.
Time now for the interview. Stephanie Edgerly, my sister and only sibling, is a graduate of Wellesley College and at one time worked at the Boston Celtics office in Boston for the legendary coach and general manager Red Auerbach. She is a sculptor, a painter, a Reiki master and teacher, and a writer. She's also the mother of 3 children and grandmother of 8. She has lived in Massachusetts, Tunisia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, and Maine. She has also written and illustrated a book titled Heavenly Body that I helped her publish last year via Kindle Direct Publishing. And this week here in Ocean Park, we met in Steph's dining room to talk about her book, which took her 25 years to create. I began by asking how she came to start work on Heavenly Body when she was in her early 40s.
At that point in my life, I was very involved with a church and had a prayer life. But I also wanted to volunteer at my children's school in the art department. And I had a fall when I was volunteering, and I dislocated my knee, which is something that is a genetic problem in the family. And I needed to put my leg in a immobilizer for quite a few weeks. And so I was sitting around a good bit, and I was also feeling quite sorry for myself. And it just occurred to me to go ahead and in the Bible look up, because we have this technology, we had it at that point in the 90s, to see how many times were the knees mentioned in the Bible. And my friend printed it all out. So I was fascinated because I immediately saw some ways that this could help me spiritually to accept what was going on and to heal. What I was reading said to me that for me personally, the primary use of having a healthy knee would be to let my children come to my knees to be comforted and to be on my knees in prayer. And those two things just made me feel, yes, I can do this. I have a purpose. I'm going to get back on my feet.
You printed out all the 40-some verses of the Bible that mentioned the knees, and then you had a chance just to see the patterns and the messages?
Right. I read them all. I thought about them, meditated on them, categorized them, because I have a very organized little mind.
How did you draw a knee in that first period too?
Oh, yes, right away. I right away wanted to meditate upon the anatomy of the knee in order to help myself to heal. And I didn't want it to look like a cadaver, so I decided to make it look like a stained glass window, as would be in a church. And I drew my first drawing of the quadriceps, I think, and the knee. with colored pencil and dark lines to make the separation, which would evoke maybe a window.
So this drawing, which is in the book under Heavenly Knees, is that the first one, or is that one you did later?
It's one I did later.
Yeah.
I don't have the first one. I did because I made it large. It hung on my wall in my studio where I was writing for years, and it was big. And then, of course, I started making them smaller because I knew I was writing a book at some point.
When you were dealing with the injury to your knee, something I know something about since I've got the same genes, did that whole process of finding the Bible verses, thinking about them, categorizing them, doing the drawing, did you have a sense that work was speeding up your recovery from the injury to your knee?
Yes, absolutely. Certainly, because I had such a sense of discouragement, because it was an injury that I'd had over and over again, and I knew I risked becoming depressed. And so this kind of thinking and praying and writing got me back on my feet, at least in a metaphorical way, if not a physical way.
So the effect was kind of on your spirits. Was there anything even that somehow your body was responding to the work and healing itself faster?
Well, yes, I have a metaphysical way of thinking about the body and the world. And to have the image, to be actually drawing the image, is a very physical way to envision. I mean, you're envisioning wellness, bright colors. For example, here the kneecap is a bright yellow.
Yeah.
Envisioning light and beauty into your own anatomy.
Huh. Wow.
While you're drawing, so it's connected through the body.
Yeah. What was the second body part that you kind of applied this method to, and kind of... You're drawing a blank.
No, I absolutely remember. So the second one was the bowel.
Oh.
And something I also had trouble with. I drew the picture first. I often drew the picture first. Mm-hmm. So I drew the picture first with my Prismacolor pencils, and I began to meditate on it, and then I studied, and it's one of my favorite chapters in the book. Because I found out that in the bowels of Jesus Christ, there is mercy and healing. It told me that right in the scripture. In the bowels of Jesus Christ. Come on, can you imagine?
I don't remember hearing that image in Sunday school.
Yeah, we don't hear a lot of things in Sunday school.
Yeah.
So that made me very happy.
Huh. And do you recall, were the bowels mentioned as often as the knees, or just a few?
Less times.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter, because that profound image and feeling of connection was enough. I had a guideline for myself that there had to be at least 7 verses on a body part, or it wasn't included.
I see.
It was arbitrary.
Yeah.
I just decided, 7 was my number. I believe in numerology.
Yeah.
And that was it.
So from that starting point, was your work on it pretty steady, or did you have periods of time when you were distracted by other things? What's the 25-year period look like in terms of your work and your creation of the book?
So it was always on my mind. 2 images come into my memory here. One, I was getting some body work, and the practitioner was saying to me, do you really feel like you can handle this material that you're working on with the body and the Bible? I mean, isn't that a little bit, I don't know, grandiose? And wouldn't you think that you might need to mature, a lot more in order to handle that material?
You're 40, in your 40s at this point, yeah.
I'm 40, 42 maybe. And I said, well, yeah, I think that's reasonable. And when I look back on that appointment, I think it was very reasonable. I continued to mature in my understanding of my body and the scripture and the connections as I wrote the book. And I'm really glad that it took as long as it did, actually. It was always on my mind. course, I was raising a family, and there was plenty going on. But I was always thinking about it when something would happen, someone was sick, or, I was always working on it. And an example of that is that right up here in Maine, one of the houses I was in for the summer, that summer, for some reason, I decided that was the summer to study the heart. And there's over 800 verses in the Bible on the heart. I studied every single one, wrote it on an index card, thought about it, prayed about it, and then narrowed it down to the 7 that would be the meditations. And it was a fabulous experience.
Huh.
But, after doing that all summer, I would assume would be probably months until I would go back to the material. Because there was a lot to digest.
Yeah.
A nice metaphor.
Did you tend to sort of choose the next body part out of your experience as opposed to going alphabetically or some other way to move through?
I knew I was going to organize it alphabetically, but that is not how I wrote the book.
Yeah.
It was more through my own experience.
Right.
What I needed, what I personally needed. Yeah.
As you got closer to having all of them, let's see, is there 42 altogether? How many?
36.
30, yeah. Mm-hmm. As you got closer to the end of it, did you loop back at all and change kind of the structure of the chapters and the meditations, the affirmations?
Many times.
You did? Okay.
Many times. That's another reason it took so long to write. I couldn't settle on what my structure was going to be, and I kept changing it, and that took time.
Do you remember sort of the shape of an early structure and how it compares with the final one that's in the book now?
Well, certainly what would it be? Gosh, would it be alphabetical? That would be a question. At one point my daughter wanted me to make it more personal, so I did personal essays on each part, which I finally decided to get rid of. I have a very short explanation of my own experience at the back of the book, but things like that. Really, more meditations, no affirmations. At first the book had no affirmations, so that was a long edit.
How did the affirmations enter into the process?
Because I was using this book to help myself all the way along. And I found that in my busy life, if I was really going to ingest the material and have it inform my day, I needed it to be brief and I needed to be able to remember it. So I would make a card with one of these affirmations, take it with me.
You were sort of the first user of the book.
Absolutely. I still use it today. Yeah.
And as in the process, were you also kind of beta testing it with other friends and family to kind of see how they were going to use the chapters?
I've never been very optimistic that my experience would transfer out, especially not into my own family. But I learned to talk about it more and more as the years went on. I would sew it into the conversation. And I actually had an editor, a traditional editor, early on, accept the book. And, because I was learning to talk about it and she really liked it. And then she started to do what they do, and of course you'll do a book tour and you'll do this and you'll do that and the other thing. And I had my children, I had my life. I just didn't want that pressure, and I didn't want the pressure because of the material. I could tell that this was what some people call a life work.
Yeah.
And there was no pushing it.
Now, this was an editor at a publisher?
Yes.
Who?
Well, I knew her from high school.
Oh.
And we were at a party together one time in Cambridge, and Kristen Wainwright was her name. I don't remember the name of her publishing company.
From Concord Academy?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I remember her.
Yeah.
Huh. Was she disappointed when you kind of backed off from it?
Well, sure.
Yeah.
I didn't sign a contract. I didn't breach a contract.
But you had it,
She'd seen a good bit of it. She'd probably seen, 12 chapters at that point.
Was she, as part of her editing process or preparing it for publication, suggesting changes which you didn't like the idea of, or was it more just the time it would take to go through that process at that point in your life?
It was not that she was asking for change. She just wanted to see another chapter and another chapter, on a regular basis. Yeah.
And you were too busy, or was there some...
It was both. I was too busy with my children.
Yeah.
And I couldn't work that way. I don't exactly know why.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't a deadline kind of a book for me. It was a process of taking scripture into myself to heal myself. Who knows how that's going to work?
Right.
And the prayer and the meditation, and you can't push that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was my experience.
How long ago do you think that happened, where she approached you? Like 10 years ago, or?
Well, no. We were at a party together in the 90s, so I might have been working on the book for maybe 5 years at that point.
Okay. So fairly early.
Fairly early on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As you continued the more organic process of following the rhythms of the work itself, did you ever have regrets and say, "Oh, I wished I had been able to follow up with her so that it would be quote published and all that"?
Not at all.
Interesting.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Because I loved writing this book. The problem of finishing it was I didn't want to be done.
Oh.
I didn't want to be done. This was something that gave me purpose and meaning, and I loved it, and I didn't want to finish.
Wow.
But my brother made me.
And your busy-bodied brother says, "Well, I know how you can publish this thing."
That's right.
Well, let's talk about that. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. It's like 10 months ago. Mm-hmm. That's when we hit. That's the date it went live. So we worked on it together with Rachel Green probably for a month or so before that. How would you describe that experience in the context of how personal the creating of the book was? Now all of a sudden I'm taking you through web pages of Kindle Direct Publishing and all that. What was that jarring? Was it how did that sort of fit in at the end of such a long personal creation process to be getting it out into the world using these tools?
Well, I probably would have never done it if it wasn't you. Because it was such a personal work. It was so close to me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to let it go. I trusted you.
Yeah.
I knew I had to make a decision. And you were telling me we can do it this way. And I had to just suspend my feelings and say, I'm handing this over to my big brother. And we're going to do this thing. And you're going to have your feelings. And that's that. And I did have some feelings.
Yeah.
Of loss.
Yeah, some grieving.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. But I loved what we did. I mean, it's beautiful to me. I think it's just beautiful. It couldn't be. I mean, I never dreamed of it looking that good. So.
Yeah, and we were both shocked when the paper price got kicked out, over $40.
That was a big disappointment.
That was. And we might loop back and find a way around that, but the beauty of those color illustrations. I assume each time you drop a full color thing on high quality paper and the whole thing, and that's what was.
Well, it was real important to me, and since then I've thought of that I want to do a workbook because I am a hands-on healer, and I pictured people at workshops at churches actually putting their hands on the image in prayer for their loved one or for themselves, so that it was important to have those images, and disappointing that they were that expensive.
Right.
Like you can't do that electronically to me. You need that on a piece of paper. So I thought of making cards.
Oh, yeah.
Like prayer cards with the image. And I fooled around with that for several months after you helped me get this published. But I just never did it.
Did you get any cards made at that printer in Concord?
I did get a few cards made. And I'm not saying I'm not going to go back to that.
Right.
But it's such a kind of technical process compared to the creative process. Yeah. So it's not very appealing.
Yeah. What are some other visions that you have for connecting with people using the book, probably supplemented by a workbook that you could have at churches or...
Well, so here's what happened. So, you advised me to get 3 readers to read the whole manuscript, which I did. And I had an experience with one of the readers in which she really, because of the material and how the material is, it brought up for her things that needed healed in herself. And she really was looking for help from me. Spiritual help, guidance, compassion, which I'm really good at, but I find very draining. It's not the same process. And I thought to myself, is this your call? Is this your life? Do you want to actually go out and, with this book, seek to help people to heal? And for the time being, I just said to myself, I don't think that's my call.
Because you had an experience of how draining that could be just with one person.
For me, she was very benefited, and it was very moving, but it was very draining to me. So.
Interesting.
I can heal from a distance, and maybe having this book published is to heal from a distance.
Have you, there's a nice review of the book at Amazon.com, and have you had any other reaction from people as you've been able to share it either on Kindle or in paper?
Yeah, I've had a couple of people actually pick it up and use it the way I've envisioned, and that's been really satisfying, very happy for me.
Yeah. You dedicated the book to Mom and Dad.
Yes.
Beautifully put in that. And we're now at the 2-week mark after Mom's passing.
Yes.
What did she play a role in encouraging you or advising you over that 25-year period? What was her role, if any, in that creation?
Oh, she had a big role to play. Big role. Mom always encouraged me to write, to be a writer. She had me make a little book of poems when I was 9 with a little cover. This book has poems in. Mom loved poetry. Mom loved art. There was a time in which I took all the illustrations out of the book, thought they weren't worthy. Mother was very much involved in saying, please don't do that. You need these drawings in there. They're beautiful. And I got back on track in her kitchen. I actually picked up to draw the rest of the drawings in her kitchen with her encouragement. I wanted to put it in her hands before she died.
Yeah. What was that like when we did that?
Fabulous. It was fabulous to put it in her hands, and it felt just so sweet. And she carried it around in her walker or scooty basket.
Yeah.
It was in the scooty basket everywhere, I don't know if she ever looked at it, but she was proud enough of it that it was in the scooty basket.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, Dad was there too. That was quite a family moment when we showed up with it.
Yeah. And I always wanted to heal my mom, because my mom had the MS. And so to be involved in healing work was a natural. Yeah.
Now, you've been involved with Reiki for a long time. What's the relationship, if any, between your Reiki practice and what's in the book?
Visualization, story. The stories in the Bible are just phenomenal. And the power of visualization to heal, just like me picturing, my healthy knees, I'll have my grandchildren at them. And hello, now I have 8.
Yeah.
And they're crawling up on my knees, and they're, bumping into my knees all the time.
Yeah, you were ready for that.
Right.
So visualization, that's something that is part of Reiki and part of this.
Yes. And the hands-on. I desire to use this in a hands-on way.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Well, since my knees are probably my most challenging part of my body. There are others. Could you read now? So we can maybe talk a little about the structure of each chapter. It starts out heavenly knees, and then there's the picture. And one thing I love in the Kindle is if I double tap on the picture, I can really examine it. It's just you really can see the detail of it. And then under that is this a poem, or what are these 4 lines under the picture?
Okay, so after I would study all the verses and analyze them, put them in categories, and pray about them, I would go immediately into writing this short poem, which just seemed to come inspired. Yeah. And so these poems relate directly to the scripture, although they're in my own words. Yeah.
Okay, can you read that one?
Sure. As children resting on your knees, may we know safety is with thee. When on our knees to you in prayer, may we believe all life is fair.
I love that. Okay, so then you've got to study the knees, some precise information. Knees are mentioned 32 times. And then you categorize the mentions. Wounded and weak knees was one that I could relate to. And then you get to meditations and affirmations. I didn't realize, so you've got 7 of these for each part, for each tracking part. The categories of the readings. And the one that I was hoping you could read is this one. So this is a Bible quote, and is this the affirmation or is this the meditation?
This is meditation there.
So for each one we get a Bible quote, meditation, and then this is the affirmation. Okay.
Oh, and can I just say, you can cut this out if you need to, but originally these questions, I called them questions for self-diagnosis, and I envisioned leaving enough lines for a person to actually write in the book the answers to the questions.
I see. That might be what the workbook does.
Right. So here we go. This is Hebrews 12, verse 12. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. How have my knees and their positive or negative condition led me towards or away from the paths of peace? Can I imagine my knees being the vehicle for my spiritual walk? Affirmation is, God wants a peaceful healing for my knees.
Amen. Now, let's see. Okay, and then the last thing, you have kind of a chance for a personalized prayer. So could you put my name in the blank there?
I would be happy to. And I've done this for many people.
I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder as you do this.
Absolutely. Prayer for the knees. Father of mercy and power, we pray for the strengthening of Len's knees. May the purpose of these knees be clear and righteous through Len's prayers, rest, recreation, and nurturing of the young. May Len walk in the way of peace. Amen.
Thank you. I think when I was working on the Kindle Direct Publish and everything, it felt like doing very mundane work with something that was almost holy or sacred. In that time, I felt like it would be prying to really ask you much about the project. To me, it was pages. It was, and I think I had a sense at the time there would come a time when you and I could talk about it this deeply, and so I'm very appreciative that...
Yeah, you were the midwife, and the midwife is messy work, and you don't really get to hold and kiss the child. So...
Exactly. I was a midwife?
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
You were the midwife.
I had my little tools and my little midwife kit.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much. This has been a treat.
Thank you, Len. Really always happy to be with you.
Likewise. Heavenly Body is available at Amazon.com for $5.49 in the Kindle edition. And as I mentioned in our conversation, if you read that Kindle edition on an iPhone or an iPad, something with a color screen, you'll really get the full impact of her wonderful artwork. And if you want to see them on paper, it's $44.58 on paper, 442 pages, and it ships in 2 days with free delivery to Prime members. That's it for this week. We're headed to get some barbecue down at Old Orchard Beach at the garage, and I'm not sure. I've got a couple of lines out for interviews next week, but not sure exactly who I'll be talking to. I want to say thank you to those of you that reached out to me with condolences after the passing of Mom a couple of weeks ago. We're now our third week of life without her, and learning what that's like. Boundaries are changing, and it's a sad time. It's a time of newness, and really, for me, examining the totality of her life and what she meant in my life. I'm coming up on a birthday, so I'm coming up on the date 69 years ago when she brought me into this world. And when I see all these grandchildren around here at Ocean Park this week, and I see these toddlers, these 5-month-old helpless little creatures, and I know that my mother took care of me when I was in that state, and then when I got to be a toddler, I was a pretty active little guy. I earned the nickname Lenny Energy because I could never sit at a table after a meal. I would just get up and run around. And, you know, when you think about the years that a mother takes care of a child, to even get them on the entrance ramp to adulthood and leading their own life, and then all of the guidance and the care and the concern that goes on in that period, it's just kind of overwhelming. I mean, to think back on what this woman meant for me, to me, and in the days after her passing, I don't find that such a sad project. I can see maybe glimpse dimly the transition from the sorrow and the loss, and watching what my dad's going through, it just breaks my heart, because after 71 years, the grieving there is as intense as anything I've seen, and he's doing it with dignity, and he's moving forward, making connections where he lives. And in my case, I'm maybe starting to see what does it look like when the passing of someone gives you a chance to really understand, embrace, and dive into the totality of their lives. We're going to get a nice boost on that from my friend Ben Beach, who's working on a biography of Mom, and that he'll probably have that done in 6 weeks or 6 months or so. So we're in the fullness of time here at Ocean Park, and I'm so pleased I had a chance to talk to Steph about her book and to share it with you. And I hope some of you might snap it up on Kindle and take a look at it. It's really a unique work of creation, and I just couldn't be prouder of her. This is Len Edgerly for the Kindle Chronicles in Ocean Park, Maine. Thanks for listening.